Hello and welcome to another Get to the Roots Extras. Today we have a very special guest, and it is my friend and songwriting buddy, Jérôme Savoie of Quebec, Canada. So Jérôme is going to tell us a lot about himself today and his work in the field of music. He is a professional musician, a multi-instrumentalist, a professional vocalist. He can sing opera, he can sing pop. I'm pretty sure he can sing anything and everything. He is also a music teacher by trade. That's how he makes his wage and pays his bills. But he's also releasing music because this is something that he has been working towards for the last 10,000 years. And by that, I mean the last 30 years. And you may be wondering, how does a big old weirdo like me meet and get the absolute honor and pleasure to work with my dear friend Jérôme Savoie? Well, I'll tell you. A long time ago, many years now, I was really looking for my creative outlet in life. I was posting little doodles on Facebook. I was trying to make YouTube videos. I was being a big old butthead, just running around the streets, just being like, I'm a butthead with this big old butt on my head. And it was absolutely awful. And I was like, I really want these little videos I'm making to get some views and, actually give people joy instead of someone stumbling across my video and going, ugh, this is terrible. I'm not watching that. So I was like, maybe I need to learn what the heck I'm doing. So I joined this class program, and after the class/program was done, we were in this group, and then the group was growing and shrinking and growing and shrinking. And Jérôme approached me in the group one day, and he's like, hey, do you want to songwrite together? And I was like, I like to write things. I love to write things. I've formerly written poetry, articles, terrible short stories. I actually have a short story published out there that I sometimes get royalties from, which is probably the biggest achievement of my life, on paper. Not even attributed to my real name. It's a true story, so I had to use a fake name. If you read it, you'll know why. I'm not going to spoil it. So anyway, in this group, Jérôme is like, hey, you want to write songs together? And I was like, I will work with anyone. Collaboration's my thing, but I have a very demanding schedule, and you live in another country. How are we going to do this? And it's like, oh, wait, we've been meeting in this group on Zoom this entire time. We can just Zoom each other. And Jérôme has worked with other songwriters before. He's working with other songwriters now. But I'm just one person that gets to help with this dream of his. And so part of that dream was releasing some of his music from before in the past that he never finished producing and he never actually officially released. And now, that was 20 years ago, he's got this great song, right? It's wonderful. I'm going to play a section of it here in a minute. But it was really hard to release music then. But now it is a lot easier for people to get their stuff out there, online. Look at me. I'm a fake radio DJ. It's the coolest thing ever. And I would never be able to do this without the invention of the internet and the world and just how things have changed. And the same thing happens for musicians out there too. Now there's all these different platforms you can upload. You can be some of these musicians out there that do all of the parts of the songs and everything. And also, if you have a release, something that you worked on, a demo from years ago that you never actually put out, you can put that out now. You can be like, hey, this is me. I'm putting my stuff out into the world. So today we're going to talk about a lot of these different things. Let's hear part of Jérôme's 2025 release, Encore Seul.
L'occasion est passée, je suis nostalgique hélas, encore condamné à l'amour sans toi hélas, l'amour sans destinataire, sans destinataire, sans destinataire.
Hello, Stephanie. Well, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure to share with you my song, Encore Seul. Very glad that you asked. So I hope that your listeners are going to enjoy the song as much as I enjoy creating it.
So we're about 4 minutes into today's Get to the Roots Extras, and that clip that I just played to you from Encore Seul by Jérôme Savoie, that was about 5 minutes and 54 seconds into the actual recording itself. The song is like a journey that I don't really understand because my French is very limited. Oh, did I mention that Jérôme works with me in a language that's not his native tongue? Yeah, I mean, he's very fluent in English, obviously, and he's a Francophile, which I've come to learn means that he's French, That's a cool word for it. But also, him and I, we can joke in a little bit of Espanol and poquito German, Shiza, and the like. So anyway, not only is my friend super amazing and talented and skilled, he also works with me in like not his first language, which I think is pretty cool. But also, I'm just like so proud of him for finally getting his French music out there. And the whole song is about 7 minutes long, and it's like a rock opera. There's a rap part in the middle. There's a lot of strings, a lot of instruments. And that was just a tiny portion of the song, but we're going to hear from Jérôme starting right now. So, welcome to my podcast, Jérôme, who I meet with almost every week to work on songwriting. I am speaking to you technically from the future as you recorded this and sent this to me last week. Hello.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me. It's so nice again, to be able to share, my music. And I hope that people will enjoy Encore Seul, all the little details about the song. It's not easy to promote yourself, but when you're invited to a podcast, it's so nice. And I hope you guys really enjoyed the song. I hope that, even if you don't understand French, you're going to appreciate the music and that you share it with your friends. Thanks.
And you might be thinking, who is credited for all of the work in this masterpiece?
The musician involved with Encore Seul were, myself. I play I sang. I play acoustic guitar, electric guitar. I had on voice Karen Larose as well. On bass, it was Martin Granger-Pichet. The drummer was Nicolas Amiot. Then on electric guitar, Rob Surridge. On piano, Glenn Ethier. Soprano saxophone, Jean-Pierre Zanella. The DJ was P. Love. The first violin, Bram Goldstein. The second violin was Kristina Zacharias. The alto, Joan Wojcowicz. The cellist was Tova Rosenberg. And then on double bass, it's Joseph Gilles Lucier.
One of my big questions for my buddy Jérôme was, how do you actually pronounce the name of his song? I know that seems kind of silly, but as a English speaker only for the most part, except for, the other languages that I kind of dabble in, un poquito, I'm like, Encore Seul, Encore Seul, Encore Seul. I was calling it like Encore Seul, and he was like, no. So he really breaks it down in this next clip about how to pronounce the name of his song, and also just some really cool, interesting language information as well.
How to pronounce Encore Seul? Well, it's not two easy words. For Anglophones, there's some sound that don't exist in English. So first there's a "en." It's a nasal sound. So the "en" from the first word, "en," and then "car." I tried to seek in English how you say that. So I was thinking art, but when we were pronouncing art, it's more like open. So we want like "oh." So encore, and then we put the R that you don't really use in English. Often it depends. When you are from the South, you might do like a R, so it's very subtle. It's a subtle R. So it's and then, so the sound, it does encore. So it's very subtle. See, the R is very subtle. Encore. And then seul, well, it's the same thing. So seul, so you have to pronounce like a se, and then it's like the L will be like the one of the, if you say soul, but soul, you're not doing the soul, you're just doing like the beginning of it. Soul. So seul, you're pronouncing, basically it's the L, you're pronouncing L. Encore seul. But when I say L, so it's L, I put like something else. So you won't really seul. So it's not easy to pronounce. It's really not easy. So Encore Seul. So, I tried to teach it to you, Stephanie, but it's not something easy. I don't know if your listener will have an easy time to pronounce that word. So that's...
Now, we talked about how this song is a journey. You just have heard my dear friend speak some, but have you heard him rap yet? No, you haven't. Listen to this.
Elle sera blonde aux yeux bleus avec de longues jambes. Elle sera grande, sans bourrelet et surtout souriante. Intelligente et jolie, avec de beaux grands seins fermes. Pas trop de cul attentionné. Sportive et pour crème, elle sera riche, catholique. Scientifique et candide, s'habillera bien, non fumeuse. En bref, elle sera splendide. Mais surtout pas prétentieuse, très grosse ou bien affreuse. Fleur Richard de
How did I get so lucky to work with someone that can have a song that goes through so many magical journeys all within its own 7 minutes? I don't know. Also, Jerome told me a long time ago, and I'm apologizing to any of the French listeners out there, that the rap part is a little bit dirty. So if that offended anyone, I'm sorry. But that also shows how cool my buddy is, because look at him, he got an edge. But more so, I wanted to also share that additional clip of the song just now because there are so many different musical changes in the song. And I really love how Jerome breaks down the intricate details of the tempo changes in this next beautiful, wonderful soundbite right here.
So let's talk a little bit about the song. Encore Seul, it's a very nice song, not because I composed it, but when we are a musician, it's nice, to play, to have some challenges to do. So what happened with this song, like I told you earlier, there's like some metrical changes. So that's not easy for a musician to do. And throughout the song, there's a lot of metric change. So it's very fun. At the beginning, the first part, you can hear the violin. And what I like, there's some pizzicato. So what does it mean? It's the violin, instead than using the bow, to ring the strings, we have to pinch the string so it makes like a ting, like a little ting. So I orchestrate the song like that with the pizzicato. And so to see why I did that, like I said, the guy, his heart is torn, he really want to be in love so much, but he's not successful at it. And then all of a sudden the violin comes in, like the lead violin comes and play this nice line, and it symbolizes heart, so you could hear his heart, like he wants to be in love, but he's torn at the same time. And there's the metric. So, I really thought that through. So I hope people can hear that. And then I wanted some bottom to the music. So I decided that's why I use a double bass. So usually in a quartet, we have like a cello, but there's some bass, but it's not low end. So I decided to have like a low end, the double bass. So that's why I asked someone to play the double bass in this. And so you can hear it. The sound is more profound at the beginning. And then when the drum enters, well, the drum is like the clock, the time that's going by. Like it's like a clock going by, and then the time is passing and he's still alone. So there's kind of an urgency to be, like to finally fall in love, but he's not, so that's why the whole band gets in. And then, like I said earlier, I added like the soprano saxophone. And in this song, there's a guy who's playing the soprano saxophone. His name is Jean-Pierre Zanella. So he's like one of the best saxophone player. Well, for me, he's the best ever. And he won here in Montreal. In Montreal, there's a huge music festival. It's the Jazz Festival of Montreal. It's one of the biggest festivals in the world. And he won the Oscar Peterson Prize 1 year, like for the best musician. So he's out there in the world. I say he's probably one of the best saxophone player on the whole planet. Usually he plays jazz, but he plays too Jean-Pierre. He loves, Latin music. He loves Brazilian music, like his wife is from Brazil, I think. And he loves to do that. He's so wonderful. And then he played tenors too. He plays like alto. He's mainly like an alto player, saxophone player, but he's well, I only have so much respect for him. He's so wonderful. And something funny in this song, there's someone who plays the piano. His name is Glenn Ethier. Glenn Ethier used to be like my teacher at the time. He was, at McGill University. He was my music theory teacher. And I knew he loved playing stuff. So I asked him, Glenn, would you like to come and play on my song, So I was playing, I was this little kid, maybe I was 20 years old, playing with his teacher. So it was like, wow, I'm playing with my teacher. Well, actually, Jean-Pierre too was one of my teacher, but but it was funny, to play my song with my teachers, it was so wonderful. And then 2 years later, I started a band with Glenn Ethier. We play in Wayward Souls and we were doing covers. So I've done that for a year and a half. I was on the road with him and we played even for radio shows. Now it's called Virgin Music in Montreal, but at the time was called Mix 96. And so we were doing shows for Mix 96. And so that's a funny story about the song. And just to finish with the arrangement, to come back on the saxophone, what I did here, I asked Jean-Pierre to do what we call its comments. So comments will be like it's an expression used sometimes. You have the whole melody, and whenever I take a breath to breathe, well, the saxophone will come and make like a little comment. So if I had like a piano beside me, let's say I'm talking to you, and then I take a pause. I'm doing comments on the piano. It's not necessarily very interesting comment, but those are what we call comments, Okay, so that's what he does, on the composition. So for a musician, this song is very great, like I said, because all the matrix, but then he has a chance to do some comments. So imagine for a virtuoso of the saxophone, it's very, very nice to play. So really, I hope you can hear this, even if you don't understand all the words. If you don't understand French, obviously, well, at least with the music, you can get a sense of the whole song.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I love hearing Jerome talk about all the people that he's worked with in the past. It gives me a great warm and fuzzy feeling because he is my dear friend. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. And just hearing the energy in his voice and how he explains things to us. Like whenever I work with him, I'm always learning something. And I feel like kind of this little puppy, like, okay, well, what if we put the lyric structure like this? And he'll like play something which is like fabulous. And he'll be like, do you like that? I'm like, yes, that's awesome. What about this? Oh, that's cool too. Jerome went to school for this. Like he understands composition. He explained to me how intense composition training or schooling was in his CJEP and his university. And I was just like, whoa, that is way more complex than I ever thought it would be. Also, I completely agree. Even not speaking French myself, other than words like merci and s'il vous plaît, monsieur, voulez-vous la clé? Like I don't know French. But the song, it reminds me of, and I don't know if it's taboo to mention this, but it reminds me of something that like Freddie Mercury would have thought was cool back in the day. Like it's a very full, rich song, or maybe like something you'd hear on Broadway because of all of the different musical elements coming together to weave this complex emotional journey of the speaker / singer. So I briefly mentioned earlier that the song came out, and I think I mentioned it came out in 2025. Whoopsies, it came out in 2024, but it feels like 2025. But it was 2024. It was at the end of the year. It was in November. And so Jerome and I are going to put out music in English. We actually have one song finished, another song almost finished, a song that's finished that we're like, oh, this doesn't sound like we want it to be finished, but we'll probably release it anyway under a couple different versions. These things happen. Working with different musical producers is hard. And him and I are both very busy in our lives. So I asked Jerome to speak to, like, why now? Like, why release this super awesome song now? And what's going on with that? And here is what he has to tell us.
Why did you wait so long to self-publish your recording? Well, that's a long story. Back then, like in 1999, when I recorded this song, like it was like a demo project. And I had this idea, but I had of the song that I recorded like for the students at McGill and for myself too. But I had no plan to do like really like a record, actually a record for that. So I just went to university, I recorded the song, and then I had like a nice demo to promote myself. So then it took like a couple of years for me to organize and to record other songs. And then I went in various studio. And, 25 years ago, it's not like it's now today. Now we can record, we have our own computer and we can do that at home. But I had to go like in a professional studio. And as you've seen with this song, like to have like a full orchestra, it's very expensive, like it could cost like in a big studio right now to do something like that. You pay like each musician at least, if they come like now it's in Canadian, so in American that will be different, but $300, I guess, for the day if they come to record each. So that's at least if you've got 10 musicians, it's 3,000, it's $3,000. And then that's only for the recording, like if you have like, let's say on top of that, you do like the expenses of the studio, the recording. So it could cost only for one song, $5,000. And then if you have like some rehearsals at the same time, it might double, it might be $10,000. So what you want to do when you do those kind of things, you want to record, like to be very clever about it, like, so you ask the people to come and you do like, let's say a lot of recording on the same day. If you can do like many songs, you will save money. So it takes a long time to organize that, fine tune the songs, like the arrangement, the scores, because it's the same thing. When I recorded this, I was doing it by hand, so I wrote everything, all the scores were made on the paper, me writing the music down. So it's a different era. So what happened is it took me a long time to record all my songs, probably 5 years. And then, so I had this recording, but then I did not know how to promote myself. So at the time, I would print a couple of CDs and I didn't stack money in the bank to really to do the recording. So I've put, like I gave the CD to the people who contributed to each song, we copied the CDs and then they all went away with their song. And then I tried to sell, like a little demo. So maybe I sold like 100 copies of my recording, but I never signed with a music company, like with a music recording company, with a distributor. So it kind of stayed on the shelf. So for a lot of years. And then, like when you're a student and then you have those kind of expense, like it stays on your tab for a long time. So I tried at the time, it was at the beginning of the internet, so I tried to publish some of the song. I remember, like I published Encore Seul on IUMA. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was like to promote artists at the time. And then it was like kind of a Spotify of 20 years ago, I guess. And I remember, like they would send me my royalties and I had like check of 11 cents, so it's kind of ridiculous. I went to the bank and I asked the banker, shall we endorse? Shall I deposit the check and you give me my 11 cents? It's just for the thrill of it. And the bankers, he said yes. So we did it just so it was funny. But you understand, with 11 cents, like it doesn't go far. And it was at the beginning where it was the computer, they had no limit. They would send check for 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents. And at the time, like we wrote to the music company, or to the distributor, and we told them, well, listen, you're sending us a check. It might cost, since the company was in USA, I live in Canada, so you will send the envelope, the stamp, everything. It will cost at least $1. So I'll have my 11 cents. So it's not worth it, like stack it in a bank account. And when I get like, I don't know, $10, like I will, deposit the check. So it was a different era. So, so then it stays like that. I tried to promote my things online. It was the beginning of YouTube, the beginning of MySpace as well. So I wasn't very successful at the time. especially here, Quebec. It's a part of Canada, for the one who don't know. It's a province of the Canadian province. And we weren't digitally, we weren't like Americans. We were like the back wagon of the train. We were very far. So it was difficult to promote myself. I remember I did my I have like a web page. If you want to see my web page, it's my name. It's JéromeSavoie.com. So I always have trouble with the J or G, GEROMESAVOIE.com. So you can go see my website. It's not yet. I have to rearrange my website because, like I have to update it. So, at the time, what was I saying?
I'm going to butt in here. First of all, Jérôme had me laughing so hard with his 11 cents. I know another artist that I'm very close to, and that artist also got royalties in the cents before. And I mean, now a lot of places, like, they make you hit a quota online before they'll even electronically send you your money. And then back in the day, you could just get your check for your thrilling 11 cents. But I mean, 11 cents is better than nothing. Also, I want to say, just keep in mind, guys, like, I don't speak French, and if you're listening to this, like, you might, I understand. Okay, personally, in my world of occupations and just friends, I've known people from around the world. I've worked with people from around the world too, and we don't all pronounce things the same way. But so when Jerome is saying Gerome, he actually means Jeromesav, and then finishing that, but it's a J. It's Jerome with a J. But again, like, I mean, parlez-vous français? For me, no. For you, oui. And if you do, you probably have no problem understanding where that is anyway. Anyway, Jerome has some technical difficulties at the end of that clip, and then he comes back and he talks to us more and picks up where he left off right now.
Yes, I got it back. Okay, so I was saying with my my website, I was one of the first person here in Quebec, one of the first artists to have my own website, and I was an independent artist. So, it's been a long time. That's 2003. And I haven't really put more stuff since, like I still have my website, but, like my daughter, she told me, "Oh, that's so nice. Like your website, one of your last entries it's when I was born." So that's what she said. So, yeah. So what happened after that, like it's just life. I had to work. I fell in love. I had a family, and, I had to pay my rent. So since I'm a live artist, I sing. I'm a classical singer. I sing opera as well. So I would go from contract to contract, choir to choir. And, like I did that for many, many years. So I didn't really promote my music. And along the way, near 2008, I met a friend. His name is Ben Sazville. And then you can go see that too, the music of Ben Sazville. And it's very nice. Fell in love with the guy, like, not love meaning I went out with him, but he became my best friend. And I thought he was so clever with his music. So I said, okay, so maybe if we're two, it will be better. So I started helping him, to promote his career. And, so I was a multi-instrumentalist in his band. So I promote his recording, and we release a recording in 2011. So I work with him, like in my free time when I wasn't doing choir stuff, I would help recording him, do shows. So, I put my career on hold for that time, So I was with Ben Sazville. So we tour around Quebec for a little time. And then he tried to invest like $40,000 in his music, and he went bankrupt. So he experienced the same thing I did, but, like he couldn't go on. So it stopped there. And that was like near 2012, 2013, like even if you try, it's very, very difficult, to make, to make yourself here in the music industry. And then by 2013, 14, the whole industry changed. So, like when I tried to promote my things, my recording, no one really was interested in my thing because it it has been like 15 years almost that I released my music. And then to who is it interesting to do that? So I'm going forward now. So the pandemic hit, and then all of a sudden, like I'm home, like most of the people confined home, and then looking for stuff to do. And then I'm wondering, maybe I should, I should re-release some stuff, and then online, I met a guy called Rick Barker. Rick Barker used to be the former manager of Taylor Swift, and now he's helping independent artists to promote themselves. So I started, to go to attend to online courses with him, and he really pointed me in the right direction. And then, he asked me questions such as, okay, so you're dreaming to release your music. So have you composed? How long ago have you been composing? And then I realized, I did not compose over 2 decades. So I have to go back to the table. And I decided lately, like probably last year, I sent in the Facebook world of all my friends, I say, would you like to hear, like all my previous recording, would you be interested to hear like the songs I've made in the past? And then people responded favorably on Facebook. So I decided to go on. So I look at all the songs. I have the equivalent of I think at least 2 recordings of myself. I could release 2 albums on internet. So I decided to go with this Encore Seul, like for myself, but for all the people who work on the music. And then I decided to release it. So you can hear it on all the major platform now. On the Spotify, it's there. I'm still working on Apple Music. It's slightly harder on Apple because they want like specifics. But hopefully at the release of this podcast, you'll be able to go hear it on Apple Music. It's on YouTube. It's on Amazon. It should be on Tidal. So on all the major platforms, you should be able to hear Encore Seul. So it's the path of a musician is not easy, when back 25 years ago, when I wasn't a teacher yet, I wasn't teaching in music in high school. It was, I had a lot of time, but it was very difficult to promote yourself. You had to go knock door to door, leave a record, people that they had to listen to it. Well, we want it all. We don't want it because it's not part of our, we're doing pop music and your song is more progressive music, it's something else. Then you go see classical labels and then they would say, well, it's not classical, it's more pop music. So it was very, very difficult to promote yourself. Now, in our days, in the digital age, it's more easy. But the thing is, you have to deliver. And if you're not delivering, your music goes under the radar. So that's why I never self-published before. And now I think I'm ready. I'm going to release my songs. Since I'm just telling you, I'm a teacher. I work, 9 to 5. I teach in high school. I teach music to kids. So the whole year I'm quite busy with all this cool stuff, because when I come back home, I prepare my lessons, I do the gradings, and then there's life, like to eat, prepare your next day. And then the weekend, I take more time for the kids now they all left the house. So now I have all the time in the world to do my music. But sometimes, I have some visit. So right now the kids are at home and they're visiting us for the holidays. So with their little kids. So I spend some times with them. So I have less time to be a creator. And like I told you, with all that money, you need a lot of money, like 40,000, think about my friend and he went bankrupt, 40,000 before even touching some cents. Now, when you publish one song on Spotify, if you listeners are going to listen to my song, Spotify will it will count for one listening, and to receive my first paycheck, I will need like 1,000 listeners. So then I will have some around $7 in my pocket. So imagine I need 1,000 listeners to touch my first $7. So if your song is not very popular, there's no way you can make a living out of it. And then on top of that, if you're using like a 10, 13, 15 piece orchestra, well, you have to do songs that people really like, to get, to fill the hall. So the math it's very difficult for independent artists who wants to promote themselves with big orchestra. I went yesterday to see one of my friends, Marco Cagliari. He's a very nice guy. He play Italian music, but with the guitar, and he has a band. And here in Quebec, it's quite rare, Italian music. So he has like a career, and he find like a nice niche for him, because there's about like a 600,000 Italian living in Quebec, but there was not much music for them. So because he started playing folk music, well, people, they got interested in his niche, and that's how he made his career. But if, like me, I'm doing like here in Quebec, we're like 9 million people, so 9 million francophone. And so if I'm doing orchestral French music, is there an interest for me here in Quebec? Maybe if I was living in France, like with, I don't know how many French there is, 70 million, it would be like more easier, I guess. I will have more people listening to my music. But here it's kind of difficult, and we're surrounded, Quebec lives in America, so they listen, like Quebec people are kind of American. American does it way like North American, I mean. So they listen to a lot of American music and English music. So it's very difficult to compete and to have a living. So I hope it answers your question about like why I didn't self-publish earlier. So.
Yeah, that definitely answers my question. And I know we're kind of taking a roundabout way through this interview because I want to make sure it remains engaging for listeners. So some things might feel a little bit out of order, but I tried to put everything in a way where it logically flows. So when you're listening to this podcast, if you're doing something else, that you will keep hooking in and being engaged. And I just want to say, like, I looked up recently how much was uploaded to Spotify every day. And right now, as of 2022, so 3 years ago, they're saying approximately 100,000 songs are uploaded to Spotify every single day. It's very similar to YouTube and TikTok and all of these platforms. People are just constantly uploading. So there is a lot to get through. And they do say there's a lot to slog through these days. Just pivoting a little bit to YouTube, which is, again, him and Jérôme and I both working in like improving our YouTube game, is kind of how we met up in that group. YouTube has so much AI slop on it now where it's ridiculous, and it's been a problem for the last couple of years. And those things are so quick to make, as opposed to the more traditional method of making anything or making music with orchestra and people people doing things as opposed to a computer kind of doing things, then it's going to be much more time inclusive. And so, yes, he's right. You really do have to deliver. And unfortunately, you can be like his very talented and skilled friend and drop 40K and see no results for whatever reason. So you have to keep posting and keep creating and keep making. And if you want to make this your job, you just have to keep going. And it's hard. I mean, it's so hard to compete. Just bring it back to something that I did this year was my first music video with Fiona Frenchy. And right now it's sitting at 33 views. And it's a good music video. It's got vibes. It's got feels. It's retro. It's 90s. It's beautiful. It's a unique song that you wouldn't have heard anywhere else. It stands out. But it's going to take time for listeners to discover that. And that's a song in English, first of all. So it's got a much wider audience globally. But also, I mean, that's just because like a lot of business is done in English, and so we have a lot of English speakers. I'm not saying it's the most popular language in the world. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that things in English have a wider audience generally than things in French. Does that mean that Jérôme cannot be successful? Absolutely not. It just means that there's just different. So anyway, let me just scoot this little political correct soapbox out of the way over here. Okay, it's gone. Okay, good. So yeah, he's so I've watched some of his work on YouTube with Ben, and it was good. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. This could have been really popular. This is really funny. I think the one thing he was talking about was a Christmas song music video that they did. Very funny, kind of dirty. I really liked it. I know I keep calling my like super proper amazing French friend. I'm like, oh, this is kind of dirty. But you got to remember, like I'm being very politically correct here. It's nothing. It's great. It's wonderful. Very funny. Little hidden jokes all throughout the music video. Fantastic. So, pivoting that, I just want to say this is now officially the longest podcast episode I have ever done. And that is because my friend Jérôme is awesome and also really goes into detail and is providing a lot of value for listeners. And speaking of providing value, it's time for another clip from Encore Seul. And I'm going to play for you a little selection from the beginning of the song next.
Entre les nombrils, les jambes et les yeux bleus, le bruissement des jupes et les courbures de feu. Pour chaque fille qui passe, un regard rempli de couleurs s'empare de moi les rythmes de mon cœur.
What do you want the listeners to feel when they hear your song? Well, first, you have to understand what the song is about. So if I'm telling you, Encore Seul, it means, it's to be alone again. It's the story of a guy, basically. He wants so badly to fall in love, but he has his idea of love and he's not trying to meet anyone because he's too shy, he's way too shy. So he has, in his mind, he has this conception of a perfect girl for him. And it's like he has a shopping list, like he's going at the grocery store and then you want a girl, okay, you want her to be blonde, blue eyes, like thin, tall, maybe, not too skinny, but not too big, and then dynamic with a lot of energy. So he had these lists, but he's not aware that when you fall in love, you just fall in love with a person you meet, and he's way too shy to go ahead, so to do anything, and that's more or less the story. So there's always like something in the song, like holding him to get in relation with someone, So that's the song, and what I want the people to feel, well, as a musician, usually we compose song, what we call it, it's most of the song we hear on the radio, they are based on the metric 4/4. So what does it mean? It's, we count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here in the song, it's different. There's a slight debalancement in the song. So in less than doing that, I've done it in 11, 12. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So there's always a unbalance when you hear the song. So people don't really notice it when they hear it. They have the impression it's in 4/4, but all of a sudden, it's like if we're skipping a little something. So because why I chose that rhythm pattern, it's really to give like an uncomfort, because the guy is seeking for himself. So compose the music really, the two are intertwined together, the music and the lyrics. So if you understand the lyrics better, it will be easier. So I would like to translate you like a couple of lyrics. I don't want to do the whole song because, you hear it for 12 minutes and might be very long. The song is about 6 minutes long, even a little longer. But basically, like I said, like if you start to listen, I made like some selection of sound. It's all in the speech. So for francophone, it's interesting because it's all the subtleties of the lyrics, and there's some sounds, that are comforting, and some sounds that are very, very harsh. So for instance, at the beginning of the song, he's dreaming. So it's saying entre les nombrils, les jambes et les yeux bleus. So it says between the belly buttons, the legs, and the blue eyes. After that, he's saying le bruissement des jupes et les courbures de feu. So what it means, it's the rustling of the skirt and the curve of fire. Obviously, what I mean here is the curve of the women. And then for each girl that is passing in front of his eyes, he has like his eyes are full of colors. And then all of a sudden, like my heart take control of me. So basically that's the first stance, the 4 first phrases of the song. So that's what he sees. So the guy is really like obsessed with the pictures of girls that he sees, but he's not going towards them. So for a listener who listen to the song, that I would like them to hear that, like to understand that. And then in the middle of the song, there's like a rap. So the rap is what I told you, like that's his shopping list, so he's saying, I want this, I want that, I want her, like I don't want my girl, to be a whiner. She has to be candid, like a guileless, I guess that's how you say it in English. And then I want her to be like délicatesse, to have some delicacy. So like that's all his wish, And then near the end of the song, all of a sudden, like it's like a moral, like there's my friend Karen Larose who sing in this, and she sings a little thing like saying like, will you invite all the girls of the earth? Seriously, like your quest for the prettiest will never stop, man. You will be always alone, you will always be lonely. So that's what she's saying. And then finally, like we're saying at the end of the end of the song, we're saying when you finally fix, like your sight on one girl, you might, find the one, like so. That's more or less what I'm saying. This song. So there's a lot of instruments in the song, like I have like, well, there's all the instruments at the core of a regular song that we hear on the radio. So meaning like the voice, the drum, the bass, the piano. But then I add like a saxophone. And also I asked another friend, P Love, a DJ, to do like some scratching in the middle in the rap to make it more rap. And what I discovered, it's very beautiful, like the soprano saxophone with the violin. It's a beautiful, beautiful tone. I really like that tone. It hasn't been exploited in music. I don't know why. I like really like the both together. Usually we don't hear so much like a soprano saxophone. We always use the tenor or the alto, but not as much the soprano. And I think the soprano is very, very nice when it's in harmony with the violin. It's beautiful. So there's also in this song, I wanted like a quartet of strings, and I added a double bass. So we have a bass and a double bass. So it's really, well, I'm very proud of that song. Sorry, I don't want to brag about it, but it's just when you compose a song, it's like your little baby. So you're very proud of that. So I have like two violins, an alto and a cello, and that's how it sounds. At the beginning, they're doing pizzicato, so you can hear the feel of it. So it was recorded like 25 years ago. Like it's been like a long time. I have done that, like in a studio in McGill University. I had the chance while I was studying there. Now McGill University, it's called a Schulish School of Music. So I have done that there. They had like studio and a program for engineering for people to learn how to record musicians. And then I raised my hand. I said, well, I would like to record one of my songs. That would be nice. And, like we're about like, there's at least 13 different parts in this. So all the violin, that's 5, and then the drum, electric guitar, acoustic guitars, piano and everything. So it was like a 13-piece orchestra. And they say, yes, we want to learn that. And then what's amazing, it's when I went at McGill, they call it the Studio A. So the Studio A is just beside the Pollock Hall. So we recorded like in the hall, like all the strings. So we have like the reverberation of the hall. So at the beginning with the strings, and then we record like we open the door and we get into the Studio A. So we recorded like the whole band in Studio A after that on top of the strings. So it was a very nice experience. And then like the sound engineers is Emily Rogers. So she was wonderful on that project. So unfortunately, since it's been like 25 years ago, most of the people, they were students at McGill University, so they all went on their own way. So I don't know, where they what they're doing now. Some of them, I'm friend with some of them on Facebook, so sometimes I talk with them, but most of them, I have no idea where they are now. So yeah, so that's it. So that's for what do you want the listeners to feel when you hear their song?
See what I did there? I just let Jerome take the reins. And you know what? He actually has some advice for you. If you're listening to this, you made it this far into the broadcast, the episode today, or whether over multiple days. Hey, I do it. Sometimes I got pause a podcast. Some of these people, I love hearing them talk, but I'm like, oh my God, you are so annoying. Other days I go back to them and I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I want to hear right now. And then I'm like, that was the best ever, ever, ever. Thank you, Mr. Rogan. Thank you, Mr. whoever the heck I'm talking about in this. But yeah, so if you made it this far into the episode, thank you. And so I really want you to hear the advice that he has for musicians out there who may or may not be in the same boat, but might be in a similar ocean or a similar style canoe.
Since you are an experienced, skilled musician, what advice do you have for newer musicians? Well, a few advice. I would say first, I had a problem myself with perfectionism. I wanted my stuff to be perfect before I released them. So I wanted to polish. And that's a trouble because perfection doesn't exist until when you have it, there's always like another stage to it. So you listen to the song and then you say, oh man, I could have done that. So let's redo it again. So it never ends. It never ends. So I learned along the way that it's better to be efficient than to be perfect. So efficient, what does it mean? Let's say you have a concert and you have a month to do it. So then you talk with the people there at the venue. And if the venue, it's let's say it's in a park, there will be like a lot of noise, surrounding noise and everything. So probably people will be looking at something not perfect, but to have some fun. So first, whenever you have a project, you have to assess what you need. So to assess, is it in a park? Is it in a concert hall? Is it going to be like for people in a mansion for old people, for young people? Is it going to be like in a theater where there's a lot of noise? So then you have like to lower your expectation and to say, okay, so if I'm going like for, let's say, play for the eldest people, and do they have a lot of concerts or they only have like a few concerts? So maybe if they have just a few concerts, they will be happy to hear you. So whatever you prepare, they'll be happy. So you don't need to polish your song like for months and months and months and months. Okay, obviously, if you don't know how to play your instruments, that's different. But for someone who knows how to play, you have to prepare a show. You prepare it once, you run your whole show, and that's efficient. Can I do the whole show? Can I have some pleasure with the people? Okay, that's efficient. It's ready to go. If I'm going to a concert hall, let's say I would go to Carnegie Hall. Well, that's different. Like it costs so much money. So you have to let's say to brush it and to polish your show. So that might take longer, but you have to be efficient because there's life in between. So that will be my suggestion. So don't be perfect. Just try to be efficient. So it's the same thing with, your music. So just release your music, and along the way you meet better musician and you'll have better composition. So you're better to release some stuff than not releasing anything, because you will like me. Well, like me, yes, like me, because it took me like 25 years to release my stuff. I should have released that stuff like much more earlier. Like there's a band in Quebec called Les Cowboys Fringants. So fringant means like they have a lot of energy. so so obviously you understand cowboy. So cowboy on high energy, I guess that would be the translation of the band. So they started their music career at the same time as me in 99. And they became very, very successful. Now they are one of the band the most successful here in Quebec. So I should have done it a little, gone with my guitar and maybe one friend with me, maybe a drummer or a bass player, and go around and try to play and sell and redo one recording, even if it wasn't perfect. And nowadays, with the digital age, well, I will recommend to any musician just buy yourself a nice computer and you can have like a software DAW. It's called a digital audio workstation. So with DAW, some of them are free. So you can download one online and start composing your music. With if you have an iPhone, you can do it on GarageBand. Even with the application of recording, like you can do something very nice. So just go and promote yourself. Go out there and do it. So don't be perfectionists. Just go for efficiency instead. And the second thing, well, I'm very competitive. And to be competitive is good in sports when you want to compete one team against the other one. But otherwise, it's not that good to be competitive. Like it works much better when you work with the others. You work with union. So you go meet other artists and you say, okay, let's do a show together. I'll do 3 songs and you do 3 songs. And that's it. So the union, we're stronger. Like in the union. And always remember this. I used to be in the Boy Scouts. And the Boy Scouts, let's say you have one lonely wolf, very, very strong. Like he's the strongest wolf on the earth. But he's never as strong as when you have like in the pack. So when you have like many wolves in a pack, well, the pack is more stronger than the lonely wolf usually. So even the wolf who is the weakest within the pack is stronger than the lonely wolf. So strong. So we have to unite together, and I think that's what the world need right now. We have to unite together, and even if the people they don't agree with everything we do, we have to unite and do things together. And that's how you get successful. So being a musician, try to do things with the other and don't see them as competition. See them as friends. See them, like as do things together and offer. And then eventually you will find I will call that your soulmate, your musical soulmate. So you will find your network and who's serious, who's not serious. So the people who are not serious, well, you don't do other things with them. You go for the serious people. So I hope it helps. So good luck on your journey, guys.
Thank you so much for taking so much time, Jérôme Savoie, to join me on Get to the Roots Extras. I hope this helps promote your music. I mean, like our music together, great. But like your music, this person I want all of my friends to be successful. Let me say this out, right? But this is like my buddy. I want my buddy. This is my brother from another mother, from another country, from another life. He's like a brother to me, and I really want him to be successful so much. I love his family. I love him. I love his beautiful, amazing, wonderful life partner, Isabel. She's so freaking cool. I mean, honestly, I don't think Jérôme would be half as cool without her. Just, a woman knows. But anyway, I'm going to put all of his links below. Thank you for listening, for joining me on the longest, most in-depth, most personal broadcast episode of Get to the Roots Extras. Remember, you can find me on Radio St. Pete, 3 p.m. on Wednesdays, radiostpete.com for some folk music and for some more awful, terrible, silly, redonkulous words coming out of my mouth. If you want to see me draw things, just look for Sparkle Weather. And trust me, it's so hard. It's so hard to get yourself out there. I try to post something every single day. And sometimes the platforms will put a little chokehold. Post a little joke this morning. It's so funny. It's so dirty. Just kidding. It's its own little bit. And I was like, yes, this is going to be the video. This is going to make me viral. Well, it was posted about 3 hours ago and TikTok decided, you know what? 11 views. That's all you get, funny girl. And I'm like, no! So if you want to see that video, check out Sparkle Weather on TikTok. Join us again, hopefully next week, maybe the week after, but probably next week, maybe in 2 days. Who knows? I'm going to be talking to a being about some very similar things as well. And we're going to get to that. And that'll be a little bit shorter of a broadcast, a little bit shorter of an episode. But I hope that you really enjoyed this today. Again, check out Jérôme Savoie. Check out his music. And Jérôme, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
Why do you love creating music so much? Well, that's interesting. When I used to be a little kid, I remember my aunt came to my home, and they would do sometimes big parties, and they would sing, everyone would sing together songs, any songs. It was mostly folk songs that everyone knows. And, like the whole evening was full with music. It was filled with music, they would sing, and every party they would sing again and again. And I felt like music was a unity for everyone, it was so wonderful. And it's the same thing. Yeah, I went in vacation in camp, in summer camps for kids, and then I could see someone with his guitar coming and playing the music. And I thought, oh, that's so fun. I want to learn the guitar. I want to do like that person, and I remember it was a time of Bon Jovi just released a song, Living on a Prayer. That was in 1988, I think. And then it was so nice. And then the guy was playing it on the guitar and was like, oh, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do the songs I hear on the radio. So it started like that. It's a desire to do music, and music is uniting people. So that's why I always did it. And then the Boy Scouts, same thing. We would, after the session, sometimes I went in courses for the Boy Scouts, how to lead like the Boy Scouts. And then after that, we had like an evening together. So we'll reunite around the guitar. I will bring my book and we will start singing, sometimes late in the night, till 3:00 in the evening. And then we'll go to bed and start over the next day at 8:00, to go for our courses. So it was so fun, like full of memory. So I always wanted to do that. And then along the way, I said, well, maybe I should write my own songs, like I have things to say, I have things to share with the people, and maybe I should do that. And since I always loved the stories, I always loved like storytelling. Whenever I hear a story in music, I love it, like I'm craving for that. So I wanted to tell stories, and music, basically, that's what it is, So you're telling stories, and then composing, you try to, like find sounds. You're telling stories through sounds, you try to invent something that never been done before. So that's what you try. You do some experimentation. And then when I was a little kid too, I always like a lot of buttons, so whenever I will see a studio full of buttons, it feels like an aircraft, or it feels like like a spaceship. And I wanted to drive a spaceship, so that's probably that, with all the lights and everything like blinking. So yeah, that's something I really like. So that's why there's a part of me, I like EDM music, so you're experimenting with music and noise and creating other things. So so that's why I guess that's why I always wanted to create my own music, sharing with people. And then the last thing, it's obviously, well, I've been a live musician because, you go on stage and it's the energy of the people. It's quite something, like everyone in harmony, you're on stage and the energy of the people. So that's why I always wanted to do live music. So all together, so like when I was a kid, people playing music, and my aunt playing music for us, and then all like touching the buttons and everything. So that's probably why now I compose my music, and I'm a producer, and I love going in studios.
Oh, such wonderful wise words for wise man, Jérôme Savoie, the crazy grandpa himself. One more clip from his song, and I hope you guys join me for the next Get to the Roots Extra coming up hopefully next week.